Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I think we'll go ahead and kick off here. Hi, welcome. My name is Emily Evans. I'm the NREL Prize Administrator for the SolarAPP Prize, and I'm joined today by Jeff Cook, the SolarAPP Plus Program Lead, and we're really excited for a great webinar today. Our hope is by the end of today's presentation, you will have all the information that you need to be successful in the SolarAPP Plus Prize. We'll also have an opportunity for Q&A at the end of today's presentation. So before we get started, there's just a few housekeeping items of note that I wanted to point out. As mentioned, there's going to be a Q&A session after this presentation, but questions can be submitted at any time throughout the webinar. Just post these in the Q&A box. It is a little icon at the bottom of your screen that says Q&A. Click on that and you can enter in a question. And then secondly, we wanted to note that if you do have any technical issues that arise, the first step is to check your audio setting to see if you can fix the issue there. You can always try to exit and come back in. If the issue persists, this webinar is going to be recorded and posted online, and you'll get notification of when that is available. So anything you might have missed, you can always watch at a later time. So we're going to kick things off today with an overview of the American Made Challenges and the American Made Network. The American Made program is really proud to host the SolarAPP Plus Prize and happy to count it among one of our many prize challenges. For those of you unfamiliar with the American Made program, it's powered by DOE and administered by the National Renewable Energy Lab, NREL, to incentivize innovation through prizes, training, teaming, and mentoring. The American Made program serves as a fast track to participate in the clean energy economy, connecting innovators and entrepreneurs with America's national labs and private sector. The American Made program started 4 years ago with just one prize, and today American Made has grown to over 30 plus prizes strong, including the SolarAPP Prize with more than 10 DOE offices, 250 industry and national lab partners, and we've given out over $100 million in cash prizes and support. Thanks to rapid timelines and goals, prizes fast-track product development from years to months by enabling rapid innovation cycles and creating partnerships that connect entrepreneurs to the private sector and the U.S. Department of Energy's national laboratories. Now, to talk about the SolarAPP Plus program in some more depth, I'm going to hand things over to Jeff Cook. Jeff, over to you.
Thanks so much, Emily, and I'm really excited to be here to talk through some of the background of SolarAPP to give folks an understanding of that if you haven't heard of it before, and then I'll pass it back to Emily before I come back later in the webinar today. So let's jump right into it. We can discuss what SolarAPP is. So the SolarAPP Plus stands for the Automated Permit Processing Plus Platform. So SolarAPP Plus, you'll hear me refer to that from here on out. We developed it here at NREL as a collaborative development process with code officials, local governments, industry folks to develop a platform that can instantly review and approve solar projects solar plans for residential rooftop systems relative to the 2017 National Electrical Code, the 2018 International Building Code, and International Residential Codes, as well as the 2020 and 2021 vintages of those same codes. Of course, SolarAPP is going to continue to expand to incorporate new codes into the future, as well as we go to the 2023 and 24 code cycles. And so what I had mentioned before, SolarAPP does the automated plan review. Contractor would input their design information into SolarAPP, and we generate a permit job card on the other side. And so there are a ton of resources both at our existing website for SolarAPP as well as our prize web pages that relate specifically to this opportunity itself. And so hopefully if you don't get your question answered in this webinar, though hopefully you do. If you don't, that there's a variety of resources to answer that question. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about what SolarAPP is doing. So again, SolarAPP is focused on residential solar So this is rooftop solar. We're not looking at ground mounts. We're not looking at commercial systems or industrial scale systems. We're still looking at residential rooftop systems. SolarAPP can automate the plan review for that, but it can't automate the plan review for every residential solar PV system. And it certainly, it can do so for many solar projects. We expect 70 to 80% of solar standalone projects that those can be approved through SolarAPP, but that means about 20% of solar volume cannot be approved. We're also happy to now be piloting solar and storage systems when installed as a system together. So if you want to add a storage alone, or if you want to add PV to an existing PV system, those are other types of projects that aren't eligible. So it gives you a sense of what you can do in SolarAPP. Of course, it automates the review process, and so it's available 24/7 for contractors to get reviewed and approved plans. And then ultimately, depending upon which a process you use to adopt SolarAPP, whether you do standalone or the integrated with your permitting platform model, those permits can then be issued instantly. I already referenced the building codes we're relating to as well. And so if you're on an earlier code cycle, like a 2015 code cycle on the I-codes or a 2014 NEC, we can still chat with you about the opportunities for what you could do, in particular with SolarAPP to enforce those more stringent codes. As I mentioned, we're continually updating the product. For example, you can also do main panel upgrades with your solar installations, or you can do a main panel derate. All of that's allowed within SolarAPP, just as well as including other storage systems. We're very excited to say 25 communities are already using the SolarAPP, and that includes Phoenix, Arizona, and Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas pilot just began today. There's also other communities in California and Arizona, and of course, Texas, that are all using the application today. And of course, this prize program is available to any community across the country that would be interested in adopting SolarAPP. Of course, if you're in the state of California, there's another CalApp grant program that you may want to apply for, which provides a larger dollar amount for adopting SolarAPP. So we can move to the next slide. So we've already conducted a performance review relative to SolarAPP and how it's doing. We did publish one performance review for the end of calendar year 21, and we'll be doing another one at the end of calendar year 22. But this gives you a sneak peek as to what that looks like. Overall, SolarAPP projects that go through our system are installed 13 days faster. So all things being equal, the customer is getting their PV system operating and generating value for them about 13 days faster than if they wait for the traditional process to get their permit reviewed. In addition, it saved over 10,000 hours of plan review time, and that's the time it took the local government to review the application, not the time it took to get it to the top of the queue. So we estimate about an hour of time saved for every plan review SolarAPP does, which gets us to 10,000 hours because we've now approved over 10,000 projects. In terms of permitting delays, that means how long it takes to get your permit reviewed and approved. We've already saved or eliminated 50,000 days of delay or wait time because of the SolarAPP instant process. And importantly, we've not only saved money during the plan, we saved time during the plan review process for jurisdictions. We've resulted in projects being installed faster for the homeowners, and we've also not negatively impacted inspections. So SolarAPP projects don't appear to fail any more frequently than traditional projects do. And then also we're not increasing the time it takes to do inspections. So all of that results in really what we like to call a win-win-win here at SolarAPP, meaning the jurisdiction wins, the contractor wins, and the homeowner wins. And we ensure that every time, every approved plan that goes through SolarAPP is code compliant 100% of the time. So that's a little bit about where SolarAPP is. Of course, we hope a lot of you know already about what SolarAPP does. And so we really want to talk about how you get involved in this prize program. And so from here, I'll pass it back to Emily to talk about our prize structure.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll come back around to you in just a moment, but let's go ahead and dive into the SolarAPP Plus prize structure. All right, so here's the overall big picture for this prize. The SolarAPP Plus prize is an eight-month, two-step prize worth $1 million in combined prize purses. Each individual winner in step 2 will receive a $15,000 cash award. The great thing about cash awards is that there are no strings attached to it. Once you receive the cash award in step 2, if you're selected as a winner, there are no deadlines, there's no milestones. That money is yours to use however you see fit at your organization. So it's a little bit different than maybe some typical grants that you might have come across. The prize is designed to incentivize AHJs to accelerate the adoption of the SolarAPP Plus tool. So step 1 of the SolarAPP prize process is to submit an application online through our HeroX website. I'll drop that link in the chat in just a moment, but we'll also do a live demonstration of HeroX a little bit later on in today's webinar. When you're at HeroX, the submission form is going to ask you to fill out a questionnaire and then submit evidence of support for the adoption of the SolarAPP Plus tool. Again, we'll walk you through that and I'll show you exactly where to find all of that information. Of note, any AHJ can apply during this step, and if your application is selected, you can move on to step 2 of the SolarAPP Plus prize process. The deadline to submit an application is November 4th at 3 p.m. Eastern. You must submit an application to step 1 to be eligible for award in stage 2. There's no cash prize awards given out at step 1. All the cash prize awards will be given out at the end of step 2. And again, you must apply in step 1 to participate in state. You must apply and be selected in step 1 to be eligible in step 2. So very important that you get that application in. It's a relatively low lift, but you must submit that by November 4th via HeroX. Here on the screen, and we're going to drop this link into the chat. This is a link to the official rules document, which can be found on HeroX. We strongly encourage you to read through the rules thoroughly before applying, understand the eligibility, what's being asked of you in both step 1 and step 2, and ask us any questions that you might have. Selected AHJs from step 1 will then have the opportunity to move on to step 2, where AHJs are going to be asked to actually pilot the SolarAPP Plus program and submit documentation of the pilot. The submission package for stage 2 includes uploading evidence of adoption, just like I said. That includes a web page URL, public announcement, proof of registration, and proof of an instant workflow. That can all be found in the official rules document. Again, highly encourage you to go check that out. Once each submission has been uploaded to HeroX and reviewed by our team, winners will receive $15,000 cash prize award. Just noting one more time, each selected stage 2 step 2 competitor is eligible to win this $15,000 award if you meet the criteria in the official rules. Again, you must apply in step 1 to then be eligible for step 2. So now that we've provided an overview, let's dive in a little bit deeper into each of the 2 steps of the SolarAPP Plus prize. So to enter the SolarAPP Plus prize and complete step 1, competitors first need to create an account on HeroX. I'm going to walk you through how to do that. It's really easy. And then you're going to submit your step 1 submission form on HeroX by November 4th. Again, that consists of a questionnaire and a letter of support. Following the submission deadline, the prize administration team will review all of the application submissions that we received and make selections. And then we will notify winners or selected AHJs of the final decision in late November of 2022. Again, there's no cash award in step 1, but if you're selected for step 1, you will then be eligible to move on to step 2. The step 1 application will be scored on these 6 main factors, as shown on the screen here. Of particular note, applications will be judged based on their current solar volume, meaning how many solar permits are processed annually and how much time it takes to process these. We also want to make sure that the SolarAPP will work within your jurisdiction. So code eligibility is also going to be considered. We will also be assessing an AHJ's demonstrated need to help determine the overall impact of the adoption of the SolarAPP Plus program compared to your current processes. Other components like geographic diversity, DEI factors, that's diversity, equity, and inclusion, will also be assessed here to help judge the current state of DEI and the geographical structure of the AHJ to better understand the potential effects that the SolarAPP Plus program may have. Now moving on to step 2 of the SolarAPP Plus prize. In stage 2, competitors will have 4 months to pilot the SolarAPP Plus program and then submit proof of pilot implementation by April 27th at 3 p.m. Eastern. Following the submission, and that's again, we're asking you to submit a web page URL, public announcement, proof of registration, and proof of instant workflow. So all of those must be uploaded to HeroX by April 27th. Following the proof of submission, we will then evaluate each submission for completeness and make final awards in May of 2023. Of note here too, an NREL staff representative is going to be available in both step 1 and step 2 to help answer any questions and provide assistance in your adoption of the SolarAPP Plus tool. In step 2, we're going to be evaluating on 3 factors. One is accuracy of information provided. We will cross-check the information that you upload to ensure that it has been activated within a jurisdiction. We're also going to be looking at clarity and accessibility of the public-facing information, and then other factors as described in the official rules document. Again, we have a total prize pool of $1 million. We'll be giving out $15,000 per winner and 1 award per applicant that meets the criteria in the official rules. And noting just one last time, maybe for the people in the back, you must submit and be selected in step 1 to compete in stage 2. All right, now I'm going to hand things back over to Jeff. Jeff, over to you for HeroX submission materials.
Thanks so much, Emily. And I have, excuse me, I know we've been answering some questions as they come in to the Q&A box or through the chat. So we just encourage folks to continue to ask questions throughout. We'll answer some as we go through, and we'll answer the rest of them at the end of the meeting today. So please do keep putting your questions in for us. So we can move to the next slide. Here we're going to talk in more detail about what's required for submissions and then how we score those elements also throughout the process. And so I know some of this is similar to what we just discussed, but it's really important. So we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about it. So as Emily suggested, there's in step 1, there's the questionnaire in HeroX, and then there's a letter of commitment or support. And we say letters here because you could send more than one or upload more than one letter or combine them into one letter. So the questionnaire asks a variety of things within the software itself, and then of course the letters separately. And then there are, for the step 2 part of the process, there's a separate there'll be a separate submission process for that to include the things we've just mentioned here in terms of the web page, the public announcement, et cetera. So we'll talk about each of these in turn, so we can go to slide 22. Okay, so here you can see there's 14 questions in the questionnaire, so it is relatively short, and we designed the submission process at the front end to be as efficient as possible for you all to provide us the critical information that you need to give to us so that we can evaluate your eligibility to complete SolarAPP and your interest in doing so. Importantly, for everyone on the call, the letter of support needs to come from the entity with permitting authority within the authority having jurisdiction, or AHJ. That also refers to the local government, so the city, county, or town, or village, whoever has permitting authority, and whatever department within the jurisdiction that has permitting authority, that your application will be weighed more heavily, or you will get a higher score in this context if you have a letter of support from clearly demonstrating that it's from the permitting authority and also the inspection authority, if those two are different. So if you have a permitting department and an inspections department, having a joint letter from the two of them showing that they are excited or interested to pilot SolarAPP before April 27th, that is going to be critical for your evidence of support letter. Now, if there is a letter of support that is just from the sustainability office, or it's from the mayor's office, or it's from some other planning department, or there's not a clear understanding that the permitting department or the authority, again, having the ability to issue permits for solar in the community, it's not clearly referenced in the letter that they are excited about this or interested in moving it forward, it'll be more difficult for us to understand or compare your submission to others. So the critical thing here, of course, is that evidence of support letter to be from that permitting department, or at least reference the permitting department's engagement in the effort to pilot. So that's the critical elements for this. I'll talk a little bit more about some of the questionnaire items when we talk about scoring a bit later. So we can go to the next slide. So again, if you are approved in step 1, you will be invited to step 2, and to complete step 2 and get the money, all 4 of these things need to be completed. That means there needs to be a web page somewhere on the jurisdiction's web page that talks about the SolarAPP process. So basically, how would a contractor get to SolarAPP? How would they use it? How does it get embedded into the permitting system for which you all are operating, in terms of how the contractor would ultimately get their permit? So again, there's a variety of examples of this, and you'll see those in the submission process as we start that, or as you go through it. So you'll see examples of what other folks have done. Of course, as Emily mentioned already, there'll be technical assistance throughout the process for step 2 in particular. So if you have questions about what needs to be on the web page, and where those examples are, or whatever the case may be, we can help you with that as well. Of course, a public announcement needs to be made, and generally jurisdictions pair both the web page and the public announcement together, so that the public announcement also flags where that web page is to, again, help contractors know where to find that information. So some refer to this as a press release, others just call it a public announcement. Some sort of public distribution about SolarAPP is required. Of course, as I said, during the technical assistance phase, we can discuss that as well. Of course, you're required to register with SolarAPP Plus to actually be able to pilot. There's a registration process, and we have a whole set of instructions for how to do this. Of course, we'll be able to verify this ourselves, because we'll see whether you've done registration and you've completed registration. You have to start the pilot before April 27th, or the end of the prize period, meaning you'd have to be registered much before that for the pilot to actually start on April 27th. So we do encourage folks to keep that in mind. In fact, you can register today at SolarAPP's website, and that would also help show your excitement or interest in actually achieving your pilot before April 27th. So we actually encourage folks to register already, but of course that's required to be awarded the prize. And then the last one is the proof of instant workflow. So SolarAPP is designed, as I said, to generate instant permits for code compliant and eligible rooftop solar permits. And so the SolarAPP team will work with the jurisdiction for which adoption pathway you take. If there's 2 of them, there's the standalone pathway, and then there's the, as I mentioned before, the integrated pathway. And so the requirements for the instant workflow vary based on which pathway you use. And so if you already have an online permitting system in place today, something like Acela, Central Square, Tyler Technologies, EnerGov platforms, and a variety of other online government software providers. You most likely would want to generate an instant permit workflow within that existing online permitting system you have, which is totally fine with the SolarAPP model. We can do that with you. If you aren't already online, but you want to benefit from SolarAPP generating or completing the plan reviews on your behalf and doing them instantly, then there's a standalone model. And for that, we would work with you directly where SolarAPP would issue the permit on your behalf, and then ultimately would also collect fee payment for you and distribute that fee payment back to you via our third-party payment vendor. So there are two different routes, and as I said, there'll be support for those that make it to step 2 to make sure that you're going the right way and that your pilot actually can be carried out in the model that you are suggesting. It also is common to start in standalone and decide you want to go to the integrated model. So like I said, NREL will be here to help you make those decisions in step 2. Now we can go to the next slide. So how do you get to step 2? Basically depends on your scoring and whether you apply within the dates for which we've outlined. So let's go to the next slide and talk about those. So Emily already identified some of the key factors we're going to be evaluating relative to scoring. So I just wanted to flag a few more of these here for step 1. So that's a $1 million prize purse, and there are 20,000 jurisdictions nationwide. And so there's only so much money that can go around. So we encourage folks to make sure you complete the questionnaire with as much detail as you can provide, and then also ensure that your letter demonstrates what's needed, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But ultimately, we want to see what your solar permit volume looks like, or whether or not you're seeing solar permitting volume increasing in the future. We understand that not everyone is permitting a lot of solar today, but you may very well be permitting a lot of solar in the future. And so we will be evaluating how much solar volume you're dealing with to figure out how helpful SolarAPP could be, how much impact SolarAPP could have in your community to really help you with the overwhelming amounts of solar permits that you're dealing with. Of course, code eligibility is a big important component. And so if you are on the 2017 National Electrical Code and the 2018 series or 2021 series of I codes, that's important, and you should check and find out as soon as possible. Now, importantly, these are model codes. So for example, in the context of California, the model codes that you see here are enforced under Title 24 of California. And so you may say, or may be concerned, oh, wait, am I eligible or not eligible? And I can't tell because I'm on, Title 27 in Connecticut or something like that. Well, ultimately, for my example, in Connecticut, those model codes are also being based off the 2020 NEC and the I codes that we are also enforcing. And so in Connecticut, if you're a jurisdiction in Connecticut, you would still be eligible. However, local governments can make amendments to the model codes. And so those amendments are not automatically incorporated into SolarAPP because, again, we're based on the model code. So we'd also want to know what types of local amendments that you've made to the codes and identify the public health and safety requirements relative to those to ensure that you can effectively pilot SolarAPP. And so that'll weigh into our criteria around code eligibility. And then in addition, adoption pathways. So we just need you to answer in the questionnaire that you've identified one of our 2 adoption pathways as being potentially feasible in your community. If neither is feasible, then ultimately there isn't a way for you to pilot the application. And so then you wouldn't be able to move forward from step 1. So that's what we're looking for here. We can move to the next one. And so again, just working through with a little bit more clarity for each of the submission requirements. So again, demonstrated need, we're just trying to figure out how much impact all the solar permit review is having on your community. So identifying, we've designated an individual to do all of our solars, and that individual has to process 500 of them, hopefully not 500 of them a month, but some amount of them a month. And if SolarAPP could help offset that, then this individual could then help on plan review for our commercial systems or reduce our queue times for for new building construction or whatever the case may be in the permitting department, to help just reflect how SolarAPP could be impactful in your community. Risk assessment. So there's always issues and challenges with doing pilots. So anyone that's thought a little bit more clearly about what are the key risks to being able to pilot within our time frame. Again, if you don't start a pilot by April 27th, you can't win the award. So that's important to remember. But that would, so just any risks to being able to do that or using the code, SolarAPP, for example, being able to be eligible or aligned with the code you're using would be another risk factor to address. DEI, so how can SolarAPP support DEI priorities? Is there a possibility to increase or streamline permitting in parts of your community that are more disadvantaged? In short, in addition, what are the community's DEI goals? And is there any synergy or area for which SolarAPP can fit into that, including things like, for example, more economic development if more solar comes to your community, because we've identified that streamlining permitting can also increase solar adoption in communities. And then finally, that letter of support, again, stressing that the permitting department and/or inspections department have been consulted and are interested in moving forward with considering a pilot is absolutely critical for that letter of support. We'll be looking for it to make sure that it's clear that that permitting department has signed up or is willing to work with us on next steps. All right, so that's the scoring for step one. And most of that, like I said, is all evaluated from the questionnaire that's submitted. So we've tried to make this process as streamlined as possible for jurisdictions to be able to apply. So I think we can move on and we'll talk about step two submissions. So again, you only make it to step two if you are selected to move to step two. If you are, the only way to get the award is to pass on all four of these items. And if you fail on one of the four, then you ultimately would not be able to win the award. And so you need to make sure you pay attention here. Of course, at this point, there'll be a lot of technical assistance available, so hopefully nobody fails on these items because you'll have support. But like I said, we've talked quite a bit about the webpage and public announcements. I think those are pretty explanatory, but proof of registration as well. And again, that instant workflow, again, that part of it is what we'll spend the most time working with you on, and it should be something that we figure out much in advance of your April 27th launch date for the pilot to ensure that you are eligible for the prize. And so having said that, I believe that's sufficient for this. But like I said, here we're scoring on pass, fail. We'll talk a little bit more about our scoring for step one on the next slide. In fact, we can just move to that now. So for step one and how we're scoring the packages in general, we'll score your questions in the questionnaire and your letter of support and everything on this 3-point scoring schedule for part one. And so this will be the way we'll determine on all of our evaluation criteria whether or not, for example, for the letter of support, we would agree if we saw that the letter of support is not only there, but that it shows that the permitting department is bought into the pilot. And that would be an agree. It would possibly be a neutral if we think maybe the permitting department is referenced, but it's not entirely clear. And disagree would be where there's no indication that anyone from the permitting or inspection side has been consulted for that letter. And so that's one example of how we would score one of the criteria. Of course, we would do that for all criteria. And then we would add that all together, and that would determine, based on which communities are highest on the criteria, we would ultimately select those until up and until the funds are all accounted for. And like I said, yeah, we'll review each of these individually within the NREL and SolarAPP prize teams, and then you'll be, we can go to the next slide. From here, we'll talk a little bit more about the timeline for that as a we'll reiterate the timeline in a second. But here what you can see, again, is just reiteration of how we're going to be making those determinations about step one and step two. Again, if you don't answer all the questions in the questionnaire, you're not going to get as much of a score. Of course, the reviewers are going to be impartial and not working directly with any of the organizations or communities included. And of course, If there's any questions or issues with your submissions, particularly in step 1, though also in step 2, we might follow up with you directly to just clarify any questions or have an interview. We don't expect to have those, so you don't need to plan for them at this time. And also, these are clarification interviews. They are not an intention or indication of winning at any point in time until you actually get a formal announcement from us that you've been selected. And as you know, we'll be also making our selections not just based on the criteria we talked about today, but also the program policy factors that are outlined in our Appendix 1 of the rules. Those rules are all, everything we've talked about today is all within the rules document as well. And so is already available on our website, and of course will be made available after this webinar. So now we can move forward to the next slide. And here we're going to start reiterating the deadline. So you can click through on this one, Jackie, we've got some animation here. So in short, let's talk through the prize process again, because it's a very short timeline. Step 1 needs to be completed by November 4th. That means you need to have created your HeroX account, you need to read the rules, you need to complete your questionnaire, and we need a letter of support on local government letterhead showing your interest in participating in the pilot by November 4th. That's Friday, November 4th, and that's 3 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, I already know some communities have applied and submitted and completed their application already. So there's already some that are in the queue, and they're ready and showing their interest and excitement to pilot. So I encourage everybody to apply much before November 4th to be able to be eligible for the rest of the prize process. We'll review all the applications. If there was a need for an interview, it would occur in November based on your questionnaire responses. And then we would make announcements at the end or near the end of the month about who's eligible to move forward to step 2. Of course, you would need to then submit your step 2 pilot package no later than April 27th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. That also requires that the pilot has begun. It must have begun before 3 p.m. Eastern on April 27th. You can't say, here's my intent to pilot on April 27th. If it happens after April 27th, you are out of compliance with the award requirements. And of course, we'll announce those winners in May after we get all the submissions and we can review and pass, fail all of the submissions for step 2. So again, that's our timeline. We can go on to the follow-up slide, which just reflects that timeline in a little bit different way, where you can see all those dates here more clearly. So if this is an easier way for you to see the differentiation of the 2 steps, you're welcome to take a screenshot of this or just wait for the slides to be available to you. But again, the first thing I'll stress is that November 4th deadline for your first step submission process. And of course, for step 2, you'll have detailed support all the way through. So I suspect everyone who makes it to step 2 will very much know about the April 27th deadline. So again, November 4th is the deadline to move forward at this time. All right, so I think I got through everything I wanted to in this set of slides. So Emily, I'll pass it back to you from here.
Thanks, Jeff. Really appreciate all that helpful information. All right, next, I believe we're going to a HeroX Live demo. Yep, all right, so just give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna share my screen here. And then we'll take a look at the HeroX page together in real time. So give me just 1 moment. Here we go. All right. Jeff, can you see my screen? Give me a thumbs up.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So here is the HeroX page. This is our prize platform. This is your best source of all information about the SolarAPP Plus prize. This is where you're going to find things like the official rules and examples of the URL. And this is where we're going to post the recording of this webinar. But I'm going to walk you through a couple key things. Just know that this is the place to be to submit your submission and get information about the prize. The URL And I've put this in the chat and I'll put it in again, is herox.com/SolarAPP. You can ignore the resources there. And that's going to take you to the homepage. On the homepage, you'll have some tabs that you can click through to find out information about the prize. We have an overview, guidelines, timelines are a really important one. As we get closer to those winner announcements and selection dates, just know that those dates tend to shift around a little bit, but we will keep it updated on the timeline with the most up-to-date information. So keep an eye here. Any updates, we're going to send updates about the prize, send reminders about when submissions are due, when important events are happening like this webinar. There's also a form if you wanted to post and ask a public question. We monitor the form and can respond, but other people participating in the prize can as well. You can also see who has signed up to follow the challenge and get a sense of the community. Under the resources tab, like I said, we have the official rules document. When you click on that, it leads here, the official rules. Another plug to read the official rules. It's really important. Make sure that you're eligible, that you don't have any questions, that nothing catches you by surprise. I know it's a little boring, but it's really important. And of course, we're here to answer any questions that you have about the rules. I dropped the Solar Prize email address in the chat, as well as the SolarAPP Plus tool contact form for questions about the SolarAPP Plus tool itself. And then we have FAQs. So to get started, the first thing you're going to do is create an account on HeroX. I'm already logged in, but if you click up here and say login, it will prompt you to create an account. Really easy, email, password. That's all you need to do. And it'll ask for your name as well. Once you've done that, you'll have a couple options. You can share the prize, you can follow the prize, click on follow. What this is going to do, I'm already following. Once you click on follow the prize, you're going to get all of the updates about the prize, all the reminders, make sure that you don't miss any submission deadlines. If you're kind of on the fence of whether or not you want to compete or you just kind of want to be looped in on the SolarAPP Plus prize in general, hit that follow button. It's non-committal, but it will enable you to get those notifications. When you are ready to join the SolarAPP, this button is going to say, this button here is going to say accept the challenge. You're going to click on accept the challenge. It's going to walk you through, the terms and conditions. You just hit accept. If you haven't created an account, you will be prompted to create an account, and then you will be given this choice here between begin entry and join the team. Click on begin entry. This will take you to the submission form. We're going to ask you some high-level information. Give us a title. Section 1 is kind of default for all HeroX prizes. Give a title, say the title of your AHJ or whatever made sense to you, a short description, an image. If you want to include it, it's not required if you don't want to. Tell us about how you heard about this challenge. Answer the eligibility questions just to ensure that you are eligible. And then we're going to ask for some information about your AHJ. Just go through, enter it in. And then section 4 is the questionnaire that we've been talking about. So this is not a separate upload. This will happen within the HeroX submission form. And we're going to go question by question. It's the same question that is in the official rules document. So you can review all the questions there, and then you can be ready with all your answers for the submission form. You just go through and fill that out. And it goes on for a little ways, but not every question is required. And then you will upload your letter or letters of commitment or support. Note that if you have multiple letters, you do need to combine that into a single PDF. If you have any trouble with it, reach out. We're here to help. And then you can save and preview. It's not letting me submit because I haven't filled out all the required buttons, but it's a really obvious submit button, save and preview. You can go in, upload information now, save it, wait to submit. Just make sure that you hit that final submit button no later than November 4th at 3 p.m. Eastern. And noting that that is a hard deadline. If you do run into any technical challenges on submission day, or you have questions, reach out to us immediately, solar.prize@nrel.gov, and we are here to help you. So that's really all you need to know. Go to herox.com/SolarAPP, create an account, and then begin your step 1 submission form. You will also, if you are selected in step 1 to go on to step 2, you will also submit your step 2 submission form via HeroX. It's a separate submission form that we will make available to all of the selected AHJ competitors at the appropriate time. All right, I'm going to stop my share and we're going to go back to our slide deck here. And then we will be moving into our Q&A. Oh, sorry, almost to the Q&A. So we're encouraging you to get started with the SolarAPP prize today. Your action items following this webinar is to 1, create an account and follow on HeroX. 2, read the rules document. 3, submit your application no later than November 4th at 3 p.m. Eastern. That is a hard deadline. If you have questions, you can reach out to us. We have our personal emails here, jeff.cook@nrel.gov and emily.evans@nrel.gov, or you can reach out to solar.prize@nrel.gov. Pretty much all roads lead to Jeff and I. So pick your favorite, and we are absolutely 100% here to help you be successful in this prize. All right, and now we will answer any questions you have. Again, make use of that Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. It looks like a little chat icon, and we will be answering your questions here live. If there's a question that we need to maybe do a little more research on to get you an answer, we'll note that and we will we'll post that answer on HeroX and make sure that we get that information to you. A couple quick ones that we've answered while we've been presenting today. We've been using a couple acronyms. One was PV, just wanted to note that that means photovoltaic. Also AHJ means authority having jurisdiction, also known as a local government. So when we say AHJ, we mean city, county, town. If there's anything else that maybe an acronym that we use that you didn't quite understand, feel free to drop that in the Q&A and we'll certainly clarify that. We also had a question about who we speak to for code eligibility. I'm wondering, Jeff, do you want to reiterate your answer here for the audience?
Yeah, no problem, because it is a critical one, and there'll be questions in the application asking you specifically what electrical code and what international building and what international residential codes that you enforce in your community. And so you'll first need to talk internally at your jurisdiction to determine what code you believe you're enforcing, because we also ask what local amendments that you have in place. Of course, if the jurisdiction identifies first that you are on an older code than what we permit, which is anything older than 2017, any code older than 2017 that you're on is something that SolarAPP is not enforcing. And so we would have to chat with you all about what the jurisdiction will have to do to allow for SolarAPP to enforce a newer code than what you are enforcing elsewhere. And so that would be the conversation that we would need to have. If you just want to confirm, like, hey, that we are on these codes, but we have a couple local amendments we want to chat about, then, like I said, you'd want to reach out and discuss that code eligibility with myself. So that's jeff.cook@nrel.gov. You can also reach out to that, that Solar Prize email, solar.prize@nrel.gov, or Emily's email, or virtually any one of them, and it'll get back to us as Emily had suggested. But at first it should start within the jurisdiction, figuring out within the permitting department what you are enforcing, whether that's changing. So if you're going to adopt newer code between now and April 27th, what's that code? And we can walk through that together as well. So as far as November 4th, you'll want to answer those questions, and you can reach out to us for more information.
Thanks, Jeff. All right. Another question is, where will we share the PowerPoint with attendees for links, etc.? And absolutely, we'll post a copy of the slide deck, any Q&As that we haven't covered live here, as well as a link to the recording. It is going to be posted on HeroX under that resources tab. I'm dropping the link in the chat right now. Give us about a week to get the recording up. We do a transcription as well. And so it takes us a little bit of time, but we'll get that up to participants as soon as possible. And we will notify you when it is live. All right, the next question. Oh yeah, go on, Jeff.
I was just going to take the next question I saw here. It said, is the grant program annual? If yes, will the timeline be similar in future calendar years? This is a prize program and it will only be offered this one time. So if you don't apply November 11th, sorry, by November 4th, you will not be eligible to compete, and there is no indication that there will ever be another version of this program. So it is critical to apply now, apply before November 4th to be considered, and then to complete the kickoff of your pilot before April 27th to be able to get the award. So even if you get through November 4th and you apply and you get selected, there's no guarantee of getting any funding until the pilot actually begins, which needs to occur by April 27th. So yeah, the prize program is only being offered right now, and only if you apply before November 4th at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Great. Next question is around solar volume. Is the solar volume score based on the amount of permitting requests alone, or is it measured, or does it measure volume with respect to project size, previous volume, and other factors?
Yeah, so we give the jurisdiction flexibility to input information relative to their volume in the submission form. So, and anything that you think will help make your case for why you should, why you want the prize and why you think it'll be helpful to you is important. So there's both a consideration for how solar volume may increase in the future, as well as how much solar volume you've dealt with in the past. So you're welcome to flag for us that, we process, 50 permits a month for the past 3 years, and it's been going up, or we average that much, but it appears it's going up, and we suspect it to go up to 150 next year, or whatever the case may be. You can populate that. You can also give us the total kilowatts as well relative to that volume, because as project sizes do get larger, it can be a more complex review process. And SolarAPP can review any residential systems up to 38 kW. And then in context of other factors, again, we would want them to be germane to the questions asked, but the questionnaire is designed such that you can provide more detail in your submission, or you can provide, just the permit volume or the project submission numbers that you're giving. So the submission form is flexible to address that. And I think, any one of those things would be fine. If there are other questions about, how the solar volume factor is being evaluated, just let me know.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Next question is, once we've selected all the participants for the prize in step 1, will we be able to offer guidance and support for adoption anyways to maybe some AHJs that aren't selected or aren't able to move forward into step 2?
Yeah, awesome. So SolarAPP is free to adopt to anybody. Any local government can use it right now. So you don't have to wait to pilot until April 27th either. You could pilot much sooner in that window also. So piloting before the end of the calendar year is not out of the question, and that would ensure that you get that award that would come at the end of April. And so for those that aren't selected through November 4th, there is, of course, plenty of opportunity and plenty of resources and engagement for you from the SolarAPP team, because we are trying to ensure that this product is, though it's provided free to everybody, that it is adopted everywhere, that it's eligible as soon as it can be. So yes, SolarAPP is still, the SolarAPP team is ready and waiting, but we hope everybody can apply and get this opportunity to get the $15,000, which again, you can spend on anything that you need to do at the jurisdiction. So it's just a really great opportunity that you all have the opportunity to get.
Awesome. Great questions. We've got a handful more that we're going to get to. If you have a question, still time, drop it in the Q&A. That's that box at the very bottom of your screen. That's Q&A with the little chat bubbles. So keep the questions coming. All right. Next question is specifically about the questionnaire, Jeff. And this person asks that they believe that the NEC, IRC, and BEC are already required by the state and not specified by their local AHJ. Do you have any suggestions on how they can check on this or go about finding out more information?
Yeah, so we would encourage that individual to complete your submission form. Your permitting department can also re-verify that, but you're correct, or this individual is correct that many states, building codes are determined at the state level. So the state mandates the codes that local governments enforce. And so that is totally possible. And then that whatever those codes are enforced would be then whether or not you could use SolarAPP itself or enforce the codes within SolarAPP. So that question, we're happy to chat with that entity. They can individual can reach out to us and ask, or complete the submission with that information in there, and we'll be also checking our database of information. Also, I'll just go to the next question because I see it, and that is how long is the process to integrate SolarAPP into the jurisdiction software? So that can take a bit of time. It's anywhere between 2 hours of software development time to 50 hours of software development time. And that primarily depends on your jurisdiction's local government software and how easy it is to work with. So when you have a software system that's relatively user-friendly, it can take less than 2 hours to get SolarAPP integrated into it. If it's more difficult, it can take more like those 50 hours or something longer. So those things we would want to discuss with the jurisdictions in question to make sure that they understand exactly what's needed. And there's actually a whole set of instructions for how to set that up on our website as well. So the questionnaire asks what software you're using, what software product, and then we can provide instructions for how to integrate with that software product. And I see another one. I can just go right to that one too. The question here is about code eligibility. Again, we have IRC IBC 2018 and NEC 2020. Will these adopted codes work within the SolarAPP Plus? And so as of right now, we'd love to chat with that local government to talk through options, because right now SolarAPP enforces 2017 and the 2018 IRC IBC as a grouping, and the 2020 NEC and the 2021 I-codes as a group. And so we currently don't support the NEC 2020 IRC IBC 2018. So we want to have a conversation with the local government about that for options, because certainly the code is in SolarAPP for those features. So that's an area where we want to discuss. So not an immediate kick out for ineligibility necessarily, but we want to have a conversation about it.
Great. Well, those are all the questions that we received. If anyone has any last minute question, go ahead and type that in real quick. But otherwise, we really appreciate you all joining us today. Jeff, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share?
I did see one other question come in here, but unfortunately, I don't think we can answer it. It says, can we apply if our SolarAPP is targeted for export purpose? I'm not sure what that question is referring to. SolarAPP is for permits for residential rooftop solar systems. So if that individual wants to add clarity to that question, we can address it after this call. But as far as for my concluding thoughts, Emily, is just to encourage everyone to make sure their submissions come in well before November 4th. Because there may be questions about our questions in the questionnaire or the letter of support. And so the sooner you apply, the sooner we can identify those issues, resolve them, and make sure that you're eligible for selection for step 2.
Definitely don't want to wait till last minute. Also, just noting that 3 p.m. Eastern is a hard deadline. The submission form actually closes at 3:01. So again, if you are in the spot of submitting at the last moment and you have questions, do reach out to us. But like Jeff noted, the sooner the better. Just get it in, get it done with, and know that you'll be all set to go for that deadline. All right, well, I think this concludes our webinar then. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. If you have any questions, reach out. We're here to help you, and we are excited to see your step 1 submissions. Thank you, everyone. This concludes our presentation.